Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
It's JD, and it's Michelle. It's always us. Hello, welcome.
Yeah, it's us, and hopefully it's them. Are you guys here? I hope, man. I hope so. If not, what are we even doing this for?
For ourselves. We like talking. Nobody needs to be home for me to talk.
Well,
out
that's
my thoughts.
True. You're not mistaken there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Speaking
talk
of,
whether there's anybody to listen or not.
Yeah, speaking of that fun personality quirk, I got my ADHD testing results.
Oh yeah?
I don't have ADHD.
Oh.
Which is, I was prepared. Yeah, I was prepared for an ADHD diagnosis. I was not prepared to not have an ADHD diagnosis, and I'm very confused. That was not a thing I even considered as a possibility.
Like, this is a slam dunk, and it was a slam dunk in the other direction.
Yeah, there was zero possibility that I was not going to get diagnosed, so I never even considered it. So, yeah, I guess I'm just weird. And this is who I am, and it's not a thing I can solve with medication.
Well, I at first was somewhat excited, and now I don't know how to feel about it, because also I just had my first appointment with my new psychiatrist yesterday, and I have my next appointment on January 16th, and we are also going to find out, finally, if I have ADHD.
Or maybe you're just weird like me. See, at least now you'll have somebody else who's just a fellow weirdo who can't be fixed with meds.
Imagine the world. Imagine a world for a moment, if you can, where neither you or I is technically diagnosed with ADHD. At least one of us has to be, right?
I know. They didn't even ask me about the Squelch Files, and I felt like the Squelch Files would be a slam dunk.
Well,
but I also know that I might not have ADHD, but I probably have some other diagnoses that
I was going to say that might be more of like an obsessive compulsive disorder kind of thing.
Maybe that's what I need to go
what I've been told is all that stuff. OCD and ADHD and ASD and PTSD and all that stuff, all kind of layers on top of each other.
Yeah, she did say that my PTSD
initials
is giving me ADHD symptoms.
Aha!
And that I'm not losing focus, I am disassociating. And I went, well, that makes sense, but I'm still very surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I had to start with the therapy portion because I had mentioned last week, I'm going to get tested. I'm gonna win that game. And no, I couldn't even comprehend that I was not going to get an ADHD diagnosis. I was like, what do you mean? I just wanted a pill to make it so that the multiple thoughts going through my mind at any given second would stop. I've heard it's life-changing. And they're like, nope, it's not ADHD. You passed the test with like one of the highest scores I've ever seen. And I went, oh no.
Michelle?
Yeah.
I do... You know you don't have to have a prescription to take those drugs, right?
I mean, maybe physically I don't, but I panic about anything illicit. I've never stolen a single item in my life. Oh, the one time I did steal an item, it was an accident. I walked out of a Walmart with a Coke, not even cocaine, like Coke soda, when I was like 5 years old, and I didn't realize that we were going to the vehicle. We weren't just like going outside and then coming back to pay, and I started crying so hard that my mom had to bring me back in so that I could pay for the soda. And those sort of traumatic things are so ingrained in me that I might not need a prescription, but unless there is a legal over-the-counter alternative, I am stuck.
Oh, that's
because I will just have a panic attack, but on Adderall.
That is absolutely delightful. Well, I was just saying,
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate the thought. I hadn't even considered it, but now I also know, like, oh, good, I'll just panic with one thought in my head because I'll be like, the cops are coming. Cops are coming. They are outside your door. They know that you found Adderall somewhere. They know.
Michelle, you know a thing or two about the cops in the Fargo-Moorhead area.
Yeah, and I know that they're trying to get me on anything that they can. They're just out there waiting for me to fuck up.
If there's a cop knocking on your door looking for Adderall, they want to buy it from you. Are you kidding?
Well, technically, I'm in Minnesota, so our
Same.
cops
It
suck
doesn't
a
matter.
little less. They suck a little
matter.
less. I like to
look,
think.
all I'm saying is if a cop knocks on your door looking for Adderall, they want to buy.
Yeah, or they want to look at my surveillance camera footage and see the guy who tried breaking in to murder my neighbor, and I did catch him on camera. So that was the last time a cop showed up at my door, and I was happy to help.
Wait, somebody tried to murder your neighbor?
Oh yeah. They were really dumb about it, and they dropped an ID outside. I caught them on my Ring camera, and they dropped a knife as they were trying to flee from the... Yeah, so she could have been dead, but she's alive.
Michelle,
Yeah.
How long ago did this happen?
The summer.
This
May?
happened this
June?
summer, and I'm just finding out about it now?
I mean, yeah.
It seems like, my neighbor
my
almost
so
got
exciting.
murdered, and the
That's
cops
so bottom
stopped
of the
by,
list.
and my Ring camera was part of the evidence in the case. That's some shit that I'm talking about to anybody who will listen and several people who would rather not.
Yeah. I guess I just that was such an everyday occurrence where I helped catch a guy. He got a felony because he tried breaking into multiple houses and he caused enough damage in the area and was caught on so many cameras that it got bumped to a felony.
That's
Wild.
Well, so we're here to talk about Last Straw.
We are. I had to get through the therapy portion because let's just kick her off. So no ADHD, just weird.
I don't even know how to follow up. Oh yeah, by the way, my neighbor almost got murdered this summer. Fucking what?
Yeah. But she didn't.
I guess we are talking about the same year in which like there was that time back in like April or May where I had to restrain a dude with a firearm in Walmart because he was having an argument with some kids and he decided he needed to draw his weapon.
Yep.
And that's just like a thing that happened in my year.
Yep.
The difference, of course,
that's
being
just
Michelle,
our lives now.
I at
Vigilante
least
justice.
told you about it.
You did tell me about it. I'm so full of exciting events that I forget who I tell things to. The only thing I can guarantee is if something happens in my life, there's a 95% chance I've told my husband about it. That's the only guarantee. Aside from that, I'm like, hey, do you remember when so-and-so, a dear family member of mine, was in the hospital a couple months ago because he was trying to kill himself? And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't tell you about this huge event I was dealing with for 2 months. Let me tell you that and then follow up.
Well, here's what I will tell you, just for future reference, Michelle.
Yeah.
If anybody ever tries to murder your neighbor again, and you think you've already told me, just go ahead and tell me twice. Okay?
Okay.
Just go ahead and tell me
I will
twice.
definitely. Yeah. No. To be fair, I did not know that he was trying to murder her when I was helping the police the first time.
Oh, okay.
That came second. So at first it was just like, yeah, I caught this guy on Ring footage and this whole saga about that. But then later on, I found he was trying to murder her.
Jesus.
So, I know. Oh, good times. Okay.
Well, speaking
Last
of people
straw.
trying to murder people, Last Straw. This is a movie that we're talking about today.
That it is.
Is this an original or an exclusive, Michelle? I can't remember.
IMDb does not tell me. I do have the Prime pulled up. 1 second. One second. It also does not show me on
an exclusive.
The Prime page. Okay, good. Because it does not say on either the Prime or the IMDb.
The last Shudder exclusive release that we will guaranteed to be we decided that since it was the only official feature film Shudder drop of the month, original or exclusive, that we would do it. But just remember, moving into the new year, Shudder exclusives are going to be on a case-by-case basis. This is one we're talking about today. It's called The Last Straw. Michelle, what did you know about this before we watched it?
It was on my to-watch list. That's all I knew.
Okay.
So that means somebody somewhere said something about it coming out.
Okay, so was it on your to-watch list in like a... I had been specifically recommended it and I was actively looking forward to it, or just it was a thing I knew was coming?
Important distinction. I did not know anything about it. It did not have any special notes on the line. By the way, if you are curious about 2025 releases and beyond, I have completely updated the webpage on the WeWatchShudder.com to have the release schedule of every horror, thriller, horror adjacent movie, and any release dates from 2025 and beyond. And I am going to also start adding my notes of why I might be excited to see them, or like did premiere at a festival.
Do you also pledge to keep that database updated in case any of those release dates change?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been doing this for myself. Now it's just syncing with the database I keep for myself, and then filtering out certain things to only go to the website so I can still keep my personal database out there.
I 100% knew that was the answer to that question. I just wanted to get it out there for people who might have been thinking it themselves.
But again, I would like to reiterate, no diagnosis of neurodivergence whatsoever.
None. Well, no ADHD.
No confirmed.
You're not that
but I mean, like,
not that particular flavor.
Yeah, bipolar disorder is not causing that database to get updated, though. So no explanation for what that is yet.
I don't know. Yeah. you might just be like permalocked in a manic phase. I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing that happens, but man,
I do feel trapped in a manic phase.
That'd be something, wouldn't it? Holy shit. Anyway.
So yeah, this one, I did not have any special notes to myself of like, oh, I love this writer or director. This got huge things at a festival, like nothing like that. So it was just on my list.
Yeah,
that's all I knew.
I didn't know shit about it. That's where I stood. Did we pick a good description script for this one?
I don't mind the IMDb one. I think it tells you the basics of what you're going to find out a minute into the movie. So do you want me to read that one?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. A small town killing spree lands on the doorstep of a rural diner where a young waitress must fight for her life over the course of one long night. Last Straw, 2023, only an hour and 23 minutes. JD.
Yes?
JD.
Yes.
I want your spoiler-free thoughts.
Oh, okay. Well, first thing I was going to point out was, curiously enough, that IMDb description you just read is word for word the description on Shudder as well, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Spoiler-free thoughts on Last Straw. I can't tell you for sure who this movie was for, but it wasn't for me. It's I mean, it is what it is. At this point, I just saw it yesterday, and I barely remember anything about it. I guess I'm gonna say Two Skulls because it, like, nothing about it that I actively disliked, but I literally remember the very basics, and that's about it. This didn't register with me at all. Two Skulls.
Okay.
How about you?
Two Skulls. I like certain parts of it. I think it was definitely worth watching once. It does this big switch 'em up partway through that is supposed to be like, oh, but what if like you didn't see this perspective kind of thing, or like we're gonna tell the story this other way, and like have you considered? But I also didn't feel like it was a huge reveal. I did like that they did that, but I didn't think like I had the reaction that I was expected to. The lead character is very unlikable. She was trying to be cool and aloof, but came off as not likable. Instead, they overshot it. Sometimes you're so cool that I hate you. And that's what happened. So that's unfortunate. I think if I had liked her, I would have felt more of a connection and more caring towards what's going on. But instead, it was just like, okay, who's gonna die? Who's not gonna die? What's gonna happen? Oh, that was some cool killing that happened there. There was some interesting stuff though. I didn't dislike it. I didn't love it, but I did like it. I'm glad that I saw it once. I might watch it again. And now that I have more of the information, see if it. But I do think like the very last like shot that it does was a little confusing to me at the same time, and so that left me on a like, okay, kind of thing.
I may even need you to remind me what that last shot was.
Perfect. I am happy to do that.
We'll do that in the spoilers.
for a score, I am looking at the spreadsheet that I keep of all of our ratings and the average ratings and the difference. Of course, again, not neurodivergent at all.
No.
And it's been at least 2 months since I last gave a rating that was not a whole number. So I do feel compelled to throw a decimal in there. Let's go with a 3.25 for this one.
Okay. 3.25 for Michelle, 2 skulls for me. That's a, don't tell me, 2.625 average?
Yep. I had to make you do a little bit of math. I did also
2.625.
ace my algebra final, by the way.
Oh, did you?
92%,
Excellent.
bitches.
That's especially good because, I mean, not to talk too much out of school, only mentioning it because you aced this one. You didn't do so well the last time around, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
The last test right before the final, I failed, and I haven't failed a test since like 10th grade physics. So I was like, oh shit, oh no. But I aced the final. I maintained my A in algebra.
Yeah.
I can continue having an immense amount of pressure on myself to maintain my 4.0 next semester. That's definitely not going to wear on me. I definitely was not kind of hoping that I got my first B and that I just got it out of the way and didn't have this pressure on myself. And I definitely did not go through and calculate how many points I had to get on the final in order to maintain an A, so that I knew how much of a, like, I have to really make sure that I've answered these ones right and figure out the point percentage, so that when I was trying to race against the clock, I was going, well, this one's a long division question. That's only 1 point. I'll come back to that one. That's going to take too long. I'm going to get this one right, but we're going to move. I definitely did not go through the test without answering anything in order to evaluate what was going to increase my odds of getting that exact point percentage, and then anything above would be great. Again, not neurodivergent. Nothing going on here.
Look, no, Michelle, just not ADHD.
I know. That's the only one that matters.
There are still plenty of options at Baskin Robbins.
Oh, there definitely
one
is.
of their 31 flavors that you missed out on. It's fine.
Yeah, I still got the bipolar.
I'm
I still
certain,
got the
Michelle,
the PTSD,
I'm certain you're still a freak like all the rest of us.
I know.
It'll be
I was hoping I could just take that one test, though, and they'd be like, this is it. Take a pill about it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Okay.
So this is how much we're talking about the last straw.
Yeah.
We should probably get into the spoiler section here, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I guess. It's probably about that time.
If you haven't seen it and you want to go see it before we spoil it, now's when you want to do that. Okay, Michelle.
Yeah.
Almost more, as much, I wouldn't say more so, but as much for me at this point as for anybody who hasn't and isn't going to watch the movie. Could you remind us all what happens in this thing?
Gladly. Happily. Yep, sure will. Okay, so we start with a shot of a girl on the side of the road peeing in a field. And it turns out she's doing that because she's taking a pregnancy test. And let me tell you right away, hot girl shit. You will never catch me out in a ditch taking a pregnancy test, let alone like peeing on the side of it. Like, I don't want to subject anybody to my gremlin form. So right away I'm like, oh, hot girl shit, totally cool. I hate her. That's just like, only hot girls pee on the side of the road. I'm just gonna say it. If you've ever done that, damn girl, hit me up. Yes, JD.
Does that make me a hot girl?
Damn girl, you fine. I'm just saying it's a very like, you are a brave person who is not worried about a tick attacking your clitoris.
Well, okay,
if you
fair.
pee on the side of the road. And
Yeah,
that means that you have had no hardships because you were a beautiful person.
Yeah, well, and I definitely do get to maintain some distance from the ground, that's for sure.
Yeah, they can jump, though. They can really jump. Okay, so anyway, we start with that. And her name's Nancy, and she's pregnant. Oh, no. And she's kind of indifferent about it. Yeah, same. And she's like, maybe I'll abort it. Maybe I won't. And I'm like, edgy. And then she goes to work her car breaks down, and she's real sad about that. But then this guy, who's probably the father of the baby, we get that hint very early on. He shows up, he's on a bike, and she's like, can you bring me to work because we work together? And he's like, oh yeah, we do work together. And then she makes him get off the bike so he can ride behind her, and that just seemed forceful. And again, don't like it, Nancy. It's his bike, you ride on the back, unless maybe that's preferred. I haven't ridden on a bike like that in 20 years. Maybe that was like a more, I don't know. The politics of what went on where she just kicked him off his bike though. I thought she was going to steal the bike and pedal away. So they get to work and her dad owns the diner and she's like, "No, I don't want to work." And he's like, "You got to work. Also, you're the manager now." And she's like, "Mom, responsibility. I don't like that. Thank God I don't have any children to be responsible for." Whoop. Because she hasn't told her dad yet, and she doesn't tell him. That's all an inner monologue. Very weird inner monologue. I didn't think that was necessary to the movie at all for her to be like, "Mo, I don't like this," and like a weird voiceover to just start everything off. She has to work the late shift with the creepy cook, who she's not a fan of. All the kind of likable staff, they're gonna go home, and so she's gonna be stuck at Kroll's at 3 a.m., which I've been stuck at Kroll's at 3 a.m., but mine has been like after concerts and stuff. She's unfortunately stuck there working. Shout out to Kroll's in Fargo Moorhead, but also now like Frying Pan is my hangout. I'm sorry. Frying Pan outdid them. They got,
also, not to interrupt, but
yeah.
Frying Pan is about 20 minutes closer to you than Kroll's is.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what I'm out there doing. There's a Frying Pan 5 minutes from my house. But like if I'm out and about, my house is not near any of the activities I'm doing. I'm breaking into houses down in South Fargo trying to murder people so that I don't tell JD about it. I mean, oh, did I say that out loud? Anyway. Yeah, Kroll / Frying Pan. Love an old diner. So she's there, and then the creepy cook, he's getting on her nerves, and there are some guys who show up on mopeds, and they've got masks, and they're giving her shit, and she doesn't like them, and she pretends to call the cops, but we don't actually call the cops, because ACAB. Oh, I have a story about that we're not going to get into on the podcast because that came up yesterday.
Oh, go ahead and get into it on the podcast.
No, it's very fun. It's not my story. It's a friend's story, and she made me laugh.
All cops are bastards.
She said ACAB to the wrong person. Instinctively, and it's very funny. Okay, so I'm giggling to this thing that the audience can't know about. Okay, so she pretends to call the cops, doesn't actually call the cops. They leave and they're like, "We'll be back, bitch." And she's like, "Oh, I don't like that. That was unnecessarily aggressive." And then all the rest of the staff are giving her shit. And then the one cook, she's like, "Fuck off, you're fired." And he's like, "You can't fire me." And she's like, "Yeah, I can, because I'm the manager. And my daddy said I can do that, okay?" And everyone's like, "I've been working here way longer than you, and you just get preferential treatment because of your parents." Yeah, welcome to America. That's how it works here. And so anyway, all of the staff leaves, including the cook, because he's fired. And now the kids are outside and they're banging on the windows and shit, and she doesn't like it. And she's getting freaked out. And she calls the cops for real this time. And she's like, "Yeah, they have to come here now. I'm scared." And the lady, typical small town operator, is like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yes, send them here, please." And she's like, "Oh, fine, Greg will be on his way then," because I grew up in a small town. I know how it is. You call them and you're like, "I actually have an emergency. There is a fire." And they're like, "Oh, well, Randall's on his break right now. Oh, yeah, I guess." Small town. Am I right? So then the cop shows up and he does a lot of very dumb stuff. This movie, in order to slightly enjoy it, you do have to accept it's one of those where people are going to make dumb decisions. And one of the dumbest things he does is realize that the people who are harassing Nancy at the diner are probably connected to the most horrendous murder scene that he's ever seen, he said. So this terrible, grisly murder, and he takes her outside to talk in the open air beside his cop car about this revelation that he had. Not smart. I see why he works for small town cops and not like the FBI solving shit, not figuring out what's up with the aliens, what's happening with the New Jersey drones. That guy's never gonna figure it out, and that's because he's dead now. He gets deaded. And so then she runs inside and she's very freaked out. And then they break in. Oh, and her not boyfriend shows up. And he's like, "Hey, I came to rescue you," or whatever. And she's like, "Oh, I'm very aloof and cool about that." But then the other people, they break in and they've got creepy, I think it was like monkey masks or something. I'm trying to remember. Very plastic, very cheap. They did not put a lot of money into their costumes. So they tie them up. And then the one guy is like, "Now kiss," and like pushes their faces together. that's weird and uncomfortable. And I'm glad, like, it made me feel something in my I've seen everything possible in horror movies kind of way, where I was like, oh, I didn't know that I would not like that, but such a little thing made me feel very gross. And then the one guy, the lead guy, he takes Nancy into the back, probably gonna rape her. It's just implied. It's definitely like he, after you make her kiss another dude, like there's definitely some sexual stuff happening. But then she stabs in the leg, runs out. And then I think this is where we cut back in time to where she fired the cook. And now they're like, oh, but you didn't see all of that exchange. He was actually begging for his job. Yes, JD.
I think crucial to the story at this point
Yes.
is right before we go back in time, she
Oh, yes.
stabs the kid who's
That
the
does
cook's
happen.
brother, and
Yes.
he's the kid with the.
It's revealed at that point that all the people breaking in are not the kids from the mopeds. It's all the previous staff. Thank you. I got my timeline mixed up. So yes, all the people harassing her are not the same
She
ones.
accidentally murdered that poor little
Yep.
boy with the mental disabilities.
Yes, exactly. So she murders him and she's like, what the fuck, you guys? And then we go back in time and they're like, whoa, you didn't see that full exchange. And she was actually like, the cook wasn't being a total dick. He was begging for his job and stuff. And I did not feel like that changed my opinion of anybody in that conflict. And I feel like they expected me to feel differently, but I did not. So that's why the reveal, I'm like, that could have been really cool, but I still feel exactly the same, where I don't like Nancy. Maybe I was supposed to like her originally, but I never liked her. Peeing on the side of the road, I can't trust you. You do hot girl shit. So then he goes and he finds the guys on the moped and he's like, you cost me my job, now I'll cost you your lives. And then he murders them. And I do have to say that when the cop said that this was like the grisliest crime scene he'd ever seen, that guy doesn't have the internet. This is just a typical murder. I was so disappointed. Like, this is the grisliest, maybe like the grisliest you've seen in person, because I haven't seen many dead bodies. So I guess like maybe if he's like, whoa, that's 4 of them, that's a lot. But I did expect as a movie watcher to see something intense, but instead he just like bludgeons them and whatever. We've seen people get bludgeoned before. And then he's like, I'm mad, we're going to the diner and all the staff are coming with me. And then there's the typical like, I don't want to go to the diner, I do want to go to the diner, we'll just mess with her, blah 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 blah, and the back and forth. But then it gets to the point where Nancy fights back. One of the coolest things is that she slams the guy's face on the stove or hits him with oil or something, but he gets burned. And when that happened, one of my impulsive thoughts went, I wonder if that smelled good, like cooking bacon, because they are in a diner. And I was like, I wonder if he smelled good. And that's fucked up. And now I've shared it with you.
I must say, the sadness did it better.
True. Very true. The Sadness is apparently coming out as a TV series. I have not found it online. It's under a different name, and one of the forums that I follow was talking about it, and I need to see this because The Sadness is one of my favorite things that Shudder has put out. That we can talk about in Michelle and review. Okay, so then a bunch of people die. Nancy does not die. She gets stabbed, and then I think, is it that she had put a bunch of meat around her belly
we'll
to
talk
lessen
about
the
that
stab?
in a little while.
Yeah, so she actually survived. She did not die. Bobby, I think, is the cook, and he was like, oh no, a bunch of people killed my friends, because he thought they were all dead, and then he drove off. Also, he's on drugs. This is why you don't do drugs. I know you said I could probably get my hands on Adderall, but I don't want to wind up like Bobby. And so then she's pissed. Nancy is, not Bobby. And she's like, I don't like that I was stabbed. I'm gonna go hunt Bobby down. And so she hunts Bobby down, and he had put a sticker on her, which was the slogan of like, you bring your fat bottom back round to Fat Bottom Diner, I think, something along those lines. And she had put that sticker.
Bistro.
Fat Bottom Bistro. Oh, makes all the difference. Classes it up way better. And she had put the sticker on the doorbell so that it would just keep ringing. And you know, I'm not like a doorbell physics expert, but I don't think that's how doorbells work. My doorbell growing up, it would have to have like the motion. It wouldn't just ding constantly. But I guess maybe like in 2024 they got that high-tech trailer house doorbell technology that my trailer house did not have, where you can just like, anyway. So he goes there and he's like, whoa, there's that sticker I left on the dead girl. Uh-oh. And then he gets dead. She stabs him, hits him, doesn't matter. And then we flash back to her conversation with her friend about the baby that at least I completely forgot about. But now she's like, oh, my baby. And here's what I think life's all about. And now I'm feeling very retrospective. And I am Gandhi. My baby. End credits roll. It's very confusing, and the pregnancy was not necessary at all. Last straw.
Yeah, the last straw. That's a pretty solid summary. Look, I just want to jump right to the big conclusion of this movie because as somebody who wasn't entirely connected with it, like there was so this dude, first of all, like he just they killed these kids, and then like all these guys just like go along with his plan, like, yeah, we just murdered some people, but let's go prank the girl at the diner. It'll be fun.
Yeah, they were so chill about it.
It just makes, and then they get there, and the big, like, this dude has like an 8-9 inch Michael Myers kitchen knife, right? And he's, first of all, before he even gets her in the front, he stabs her in the back with it. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't have any stakes taped to her back. That's a legitimate stab wound. If that's like a little 2-inch pocket knife, okay, that was an 8, maybe 9-inch kitchen knife that he plunged into this tiny Hollywood-style actress's torso. If it didn't come out the other side, it definitely went up and in and punctured something vital. Right? And not only that, and so then we swing around and he takes that same 8-9 inch kitchen knife, jabs it into her abdomen. But then we find out, oh, she had an armor of what? At best, 2-inch thick steaks with an 8-inch kitchen knife that was plunged right up into her abdomen. That's
and
still
a chef's knife. You know it was sharp.
Yeah, that's still going plenty deep into her. Mm-hmm. She pulls it out. She's going to bleed out. She's already bleeding out from the wound on her back. So it just became levels of ridiculous. And the same sort of thing with, like, they're just like, oh, we'll just say she had steaks taped to her abdomen. It'll be fine. Oh, we'll just say she taped the doorbell down with the sticker. It'll be fine. Side note, there's no way in hell that place is called the Fat Bottom Bistro, right? The only thing I can think of is maybe they were trying to suggest that that's like what her mom named it, and they kept the name after mom because mom died or something. Wasn't that a part of this story? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
her mom's
she got murdered in a
picture.
diner. She didn't have steaks taped to her, and that's how Nancy knew. Like,
Yeah,
if my mom had steaks taped to her, she would have been fine.
Yeah.
Also, theory, JD,
Yeah?
just the tip. That's why she survived. Just the tip. That's why they say just the tip sometimes.
Well,
It'll save you from
I don't
internal
know.
organ damage.
That was a mighty big fucking kitchen knife that she got stabbed with, and like I said, she peels 2 steaks off, and so one of 2 options. She either had them on top of each other and was just real good at predicting where that knife was going to be, or far more likely she had them next to each other to spread out across her entire abdomen to serve as a shield over the entire area, which means now we're only talking about maybe an inch and a half at most of steak between her and the business end of that Michael Myers knife. I can't buy it.
Another theory, that wasn't even put there as armor. That's just a thing she does because Nancy likes to eat room temperature meat. That was just her snack for later. Well, that was an unintended consequence. She just walks around with meat taped to her belly because then she's like, ooh, it's reached the same temperature as my body. Now it's time to eat. And she'll just like munch on some meat throughout the day. You know, people like to eat different things. Nancy, she got those pregnancy cravings. She wants body temperature meat.
Speaking of the pregnancy thing, that's another thing that you pointed out in your review that I just completely blew past and it never even occurred to me because I was so disconnected. It didn't occur to me until you mentioned it just now that there was a connection between the whole thing about how she's pregnant and there was apparently like a hookup between her and the other dude from the diner.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me that like, oh, maybe they're saying that dude from the diner is the father of this baby that she's carrying. I
Oh,
just
she
never.
does claim she does not know who the father is, but
Right.
then he says something about like the party, and she goes, "I don't remember the party because they
Oh,
hooked up. That's
okay.
code." He died very unceremoniously, by the way.
Yeah.
I did not expect
Yeah, he
like
just turned up
it's
dead.
like I'm not supposed to care about anybody in this movie. Maybe I was supposed to care about Nancy and I didn't, but like I kind of cared about that guy and I cared about the brother, and the brother's death should have been sad. But instead, it's just like a, oh no, we fucked up moment instead. But like those two guys were pretty innocent in all of this.
Yeah, and
So I just,
I thought also the big reveal in the middle where it's like, oh, it turns out it's not those kids at all. I'm like, okay, but I mean there's no way anybody possibly could have seen that coming, right? So that means the entire thing, it felt very cheap. To be totally honest, it felt very cheap. There was no like that's not an illusion that you succeeded in because of quality storytelling. That's just you just told a bald-faced lie for a half an hour and let us believe it. Which also upset me to a certain extent because I was actually the closest I came to being invested in this is when I thought it was starting to turn out to be a movie of a very specific subgenre, which is where very young or like 16, 17, 18-year-old teenagers terrorize adults. There are a couple of movies specifically, I don't want to name them because I guess it's not so much a spoiler because that's kind of how it kicks off, but especially there's a movie called Willow Creek that our buddy Marlon turned me on to. The movie itself, the actual execution wasn't really my bag. It's got that like early 2000s like Band of Brothers high frame rate, real jittery kind of look to it, and I don't like it. But that concept, just that idea, there's an episode of, I hate to say his name, but it is what it is. There's an episode of Louis C.K.'s TV show from FX a while back where it's about him out on a date and then they get terrorized by these very young, like high school age kids, right, out in public. So it's like, when that was where I thought it was going, I was like, okay, let's see where this goes and see how it turns out. But no, I felt like the big change in the middle was like it felt very cheap to me. And in fact, it seemed so like, oh, surprise, that I like it even took me even further out of what was going on.
if you want a really good movie where teenagers harass adults, you're going to feel really sad at the end if you haven't seen it. Eden Lake.
Eden Lake. That's the one I'm thinking of, not Willow Creek.
I was gonna say, is that because I was like, Willow Creek is the
Willow
Bigfoot
Creek
movie.
is the Bigfoot
Okay.
movie. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're right.
So Eden Lake.
That's
because
the
I
one
immediately
I
was like,
thinking
that's
of.
very similar
No,
name. Is
yes,
that what you mean?
yes,
So yeah,
Eden Lake.
Lake. Highly recommend it if you have not checked out Eden Lake, listener, and you feel like being pretty sad. We're having some emotions and you want to see some teenagers fuck with adults. Check it out. It does have Magneto in it, so that's pretty cool. That's
Which
pretty
Magneto?
Michael Fassbender,
Yeah.
the only one that matters.
What?
Listen, I'm a James McAvoy fan, so him as
Well, apparently not enough of a fan to know that his name is James McAvoy.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's not the American way. Listen, I like to look at him. I don't care what his name is. He's the reason I didn't hate the Speak No Evil remake. We won't have to get into that. We won't have to get. But
all I'm saying is Gandalf
I'm just being
was
controversial.
Magneto too.
Yeah, I know, but who cares about Patrick Stewart's X-Men? I'm kidding. Of course I'm kidding. I'm so sorry to be controversial.
Patrick Stewart was not Gandalf. He was
I
not
know,
Magneto.
he was the counterpart to Magneto. He was Dr. X. Professor X. Professor Plutonium. What's the X-Men dad guy's name? It's Professor Xavier, right? What the fuck is his title? What did he go to school for? I'm sweating so much. It is Professor X. Oh, thank God. I had to Google it. So it's like Dr. X, Professor X. I didn't go to 10 years of medical school to be called Mr. Thank you very much. Dr. Evil. I'll never forget his title. Anyway. Oh, I got very sweaty because holy shit. I know some stuff about nerd shit. I promise. Please don't take my nerd card away. Anyway, JD took his glasses off. That's how I knew he was disappointed in me.
Sometimes you just need to not be able to see anything for a little while.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm so mad. Professor X, Mr. X would have been much scarier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
Racer X.
Racer X.
Anyway.
Oh, okay.
I think we got lost on that tangent because I don't really have a lot else to say about Last Straw. This is a movie that just
Did you have more to say on the ending, or was it the meat part, not the weird
just the mechanics
monologue?
the mechanics of it all. Well, yeah, and the weird monologue seemed very out of place and an odd way to end this movie. I didn't have anything specifically against it. It felt like an odd choice to me. An older me would have said it was kind of clunky.
I mean, I think clunky isn't, I know you try not to be, like, negative without valid criticism, and I don't think clunky is bad. I think that's a pretty good way to put it. I do have to say that this is the first, I believe, feature length from both the writer and director, and I do want to see what else they wind up putting out. This is not like I hate this so much, I don't want... It's like, this is a good first attempt. I didn't hate it. There were just some things of, like... I don't know. I do have to suspend disbelief. And also, like, I don't like Nancy, and I think I'm supposed to. So she was not written well. So, yeah, I do want to check out more of what they do. Their names. Alan Scott Neal is the director, and writer is Taylor Sardoni. So I'm going to check it out. Also, part of the reason it gets a good score, only an hour and 23 minutes. I can sit through a movie that I absolutely hate for an hour and 23 minutes. I can live through anything for an hour and 23 minutes. That is fine.
Well, you're in luck because the episode we're about to record right after we're done recording this one is about a movie that was only 70 minutes, I believe. Maybe 75
77, I think, with credits, if I recall. Yeah, why do I even watch full-length movies? Why the fuck is Wicked 2 hours and 50 minutes? We won't get into it.
I have no idea. Anyway, so I don't have much else to say about Last Straw.
No, it's the last straw over here.
You know what it reminded me of a lot is that one that we saw last October about the lady who was like at the gas station convenience store.
Yes.
And the sniper was taking shots at her.
Yes.
What was that one called?
This was better than that one, and I have forgotten. I can picture the poster in my head. I cannot picture any of the words on the poster, so that's not helpful.
Well, and
if anybody's curious what we're talking about, message me later.
We don't need to. I just about went down that rabbit hole, and I'm gonna not go down that rabbit hole.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. Rabbits can be mean and territorial, and you don't want to be stuck in a hole with them. Yeah. They have very sharp nails.
If you're listening to this right up front, we got a special Christmas Day bonus episode. We got another special bonus episode after that, and then we still have a Michelle in review and our top films of 2024. We got a shit pile of content we got to put together before Michelle leaves town in a few days.
Yeah, I hadn't factored in that we have 4 more episodes
to record
so much before my plane flies away in 3 days.
Tomorrow's
because I
be
promised my
day.
husband I would not bring work or work adjacent things along on our vacation.
I do think it would be perfectly fair if there was a slight delay in the December Michelle in review and our top films of 2024.
I think Michelle in Review has to be in January because there are a couple things coming out on the 28th and 29th that I do want to see beforehand. So I think that'll be a January release.
I noticed you mentioned the 20th and 29th, but not the 25th. Are you not you're not too pumped on Nosferatu?
I'm excited about Nosferatu. I'm just saying, well, I said the 28th and the 29th, meaning
the 28th.
Closer.
I thought you said the 20th.
You know, maybe I did. Maybe I completely forgot a number, but again, not
the 20th was 2 days
all.
Ago. So.
I know. Yeah, there's one that comes out on the 28th that I do want to see and then get back to you. Amber Alert.
Okay.
It's been on my list for a while. It's coming out on Hulu, but it's Hayden Panettiere.
What's on the 29th?
The 29th. Oh, fuck. I have to go look at my list again.
No,
Maybe
you don't.
I don't have something on the 29th. I know Amber Alert is on the 28th, though, and it's Hayden Panettiere, and I will watch anything with her. It's got really good reviews on IMDb. It's available to rent, so maybe I'll just rent it before I go to Vegas.
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Exactly. I will save Hayden Panettiere in any way she wants me to. I don't even fuck the world, don't care. Hayden Panettiere, I will save her.
Michelle, we got another one of these we got to record. Say goodnight on the... how do I even want to... Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShudder.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShudder on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter, if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShudder.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShudder.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media.